This will be your last photo, a team of heroes dead for nothing. Carlos sneered through bloodied teeth, his rifle trained on us. The Mexican jungle stretched endlessly below, 30 meters of jagged rock and death. Minutes earlier, we had been brothers in arms, united by one mission. Save 2 innocent children from the most dangerous cartel in Mexico. 8-year-old Sofia and 10-year-old Miguel had been torn from their beds. Their parents received a ransom demand that would bankrupt 3 generations. But we don't negotiate with monsters who steal children. I'm Sergeant Aisha Thompson, and I've seen hell in Afghanistan's mountains. My rifle has spoken in languages that only warriors understand. Mike Ramirez stands beside me, my brother, through every firefight imaginable. We've shared MREs under Taliban mortars and counted stars between battles. Carlos has been our teammate for 3 years of blood and brotherhood. Lieutenant Elena joined us 6 months ago, hungry to prove herself worthy. Today, she proved it by taking down 2 cartel guards single-handedly. The compound raid had gone too perfectly, I realize now. We moved through their defenses like ghosts, finding the children quickly. Sofia clutched her brother's hand while bullets shattered concrete around them. Elena took shrapnel in her shoulder, but never stopped returning fire. Mike cleared our exit route with precision that would make snipers jealous. I carried both children to safety while Carlos watched our 6. The jungle swallowed us, as cartel reinforcements arrived minutes too late. 3 miles of dense undergrowth, and we reached this cliff overlook. The river gorge below promised escape, if we could rappel down safely. Cartel helicopters thundered in the distance, searching for our blood trail. Carlos suggested we take a victory photo before the final descent. Brotherhood demands we commemorate moments when we save innocent lives. Elena smiled despite her wound, proud of her first successful rescue. Mike wrapped his arm around my shoulders like he's done countless times. Sofia and Miguel huddled close, finally believing they might see home again. Carlos raised his phone, that familiar grin spreading across his face. Then his expression shifted to something I'd never seen before. Cold calculation replaced the warmth I'd trusted for 3 years straight. This will be your last photo, a team of heroes dead for nothing. The beacon in his pocket had been transmitting our location continuously. Muzzle flashes erupted from the jungle as cartel fighters surrounded us. Elena screamed a warning as bullets chewed through bark around us. Mike shoved the children behind a boulder, his body shielding them. I dove left, my rifle already spitting fire at advancing shadows. 3 cartel members dropped before they could take proper cover. Elena fought like a lioness, despite blood streaming down her arm. Her rifle found 2 more targets before a burst caught her. She stumbled backward toward the cliff edge, determination burning bright. A cartel fighter rushed her position, machete raised for killing blow. Elena grabbed his vest as she fell, taking him screaming into darkness. Her sacrifice bought us precious seconds to process Carlos's betrayal. Mike and I found cover behind fallen logs, children safe behind us. Carlos had vanished into the jungle with our radio and emergency flares. Cartel voices grew closer as they tightened their deadly circle. Rico's ghost whispered warnings I should have heeded years ago. 5 years back, Rico died on a mission, just like this one. Carlos claimed enemy fire killed him during a routine patrol. But my dreams showed me glimpses of a different truth entirely. Rico discovering payments Carlos received from cartel informants. Carlos silencing his brother forever to protect his dirty secret. Mike witnessed it, but said nothing to preserve our unit's cohesion. Now Carlos needed more blood money to pay gambling debts accumulating. Our deaths would earn him enough cash to disappear completely. He emerged from the tree line with cartel reinforcements flanking him. You killed Rico 5 years ago, and now you'll kill us too. My voice carried across the clearing as I stepped into view. Carlos laughed while his new allies trained weapons on Mike. Rico got greedy and tried to expose my business arrangements. These children will die because you couldn't mind your business. Gunfire erupted as I dove behind cover, my rifle blazing response. Mike flanked right while I kept their attention focused forward. 2 cartel gunmen dropped before they realized we'd split up. Carlos fired wildly, panic replacing his earlier cold confidence. A bullet creased my shoulder as I rolled toward better cover. Mike's rifle cracked twice, eliminating threats on our left flank. Carlos grabbed Sophia as a human shield, backing toward the cliff. One more step and I'll throw her over the edge. My finger found the trigger as rage threatened to overwhelm training. Mike appeared behind Carlos with his sidearm drawn and ready. The children deserve to live, Carlos, but you've earned death today. Carlos spun toward Mike, releasing Sophia in his desperate panic. I put 2 rounds center mass before he could fire. He staggered backward, blood spreading across his tactical vest. This isn't over. Thompson, the cartel knows your real names now. Carlos's final words echoed as he toppled over the cliff edge. The jungle fell silent except for our ragged breathing and heartbeats. Sophia and Miguel ran to us, tears streaming down their faces. Mike activated our emergency beacon while I secured the perimeter carefully. Extraction helicopters would arrive within 30 minutes if we stayed alive. The mission was complete, but our brotherhood lay shattered forever. Rico's ghost could finally rest, knowing justice had been served. Pretend we're dead. Mike's words pierced through the agony, consuming every inch of my body. 30 feet below the cliff, broken rocks had shattered my left arm. Blood pooled beneath us as cartel boots thundered on stone above. Carlos's voice carried down like poison dripping into open wounds. Rico died for getting in my way. Now it's these two's turn. Those words hit harder than the fall that nearly killed us. 5 years of nightmares suddenly crystallized into horrifying truth. Rico's ghost had been trying to warn me through every dream. Don't trust him, Aisha, his voice echoed from beyond death. I should have listened to the brother who raised me up. Rico taught me to shoot straight and think straighter in combat. He pulled me from burning vehicles in the mountains of Afghanistan. His laugh could chase away the darkest memories of war. Now I understood why his eyes haunted my sleep so deeply. Carlos had executed him in cold blood for discovering the truth. My watch continued recording every word Carlos spoke to his handlers. The cartel thinks we're corpses rotting at the bottom here. Carlos is staging this as a terrain accident during the rescue. Elena died a hero's death, saving children she barely knew. Her sacrifice bought us the seconds we needed to survive this. Mike's breathing came in shallow gasps beside my broken body. 3 ribs punctured, his left leg twisted at unnatural angles. Yet his eyes burned with the same fury consuming my soul. We lay motionless as boots searched the cliff edge above. Carlos's betrayal cut deeper than any shrapnel I'd ever taken. The man who shared foxholes had sold our lives cheaply. Gambling debts meant more to him than our sacred brotherhood. Sophia and Miguel whimpered softly from the bushes where I'd hidden them. Their innocence deserved protection from monsters wearing friendly faces. 20 minutes passed before the voices finally faded into jungle. Mike rolled onto his side, blood trickling from his mouth. We need to move before they send recovery teams down. Every movement sent lightning bolts of pain through my spine. But pain meant I was alive to finish what Carlos started. The children emerged from hiding, tears streaming down their faces. Sophia clutched Miguel's hand like it was her only anchor. Are you going to die like the nice lady did? Elena's memory deserved better than dying for a traitor's greed. I forced myself upright despite my arm hanging uselessly. We're getting you home. I promise on my life. Mike fashioned a sling from his torn sleeve for my arm. His field medic training kicked in despite his own injuries. The river gorge stretched 2 miles toward the extraction point. Every step would be agony, but staying meant certain death. Carlos would return with a cleanup crew before dawn broke. We had to reach friendly territory before he discovered us. The jungle floor cut our bare hands as we crawled forward. Sophia carried water while Miguel spotted safe footing ahead. These children showed more courage than most grown soldiers. Their parents raised warriors disguised as innocent 8- and 10-year-olds. Mike's watch showed 3 hours until our scheduled extraction window. Radio silence was mandatory until we reached the rendezvous coordinates. Carlos had already reported us killed in action to command. Our sudden resurrection would expose his lies to military intelligence. The recording device on my wrist captured his full confession. Financial records would prove his cartel payments over several years. Rico's murder finally had the evidence needed for justice. But first, we had to survive this jungle with broken bodies. Miguel found a game trail leading toward the river valley. Animal paths offered easier walking than dense undergrowth around us. Each footstep echoed like gunshots in my fractured consciousness. Rico's voice whispered encouragement through waves of crushing pain. "You're stronger than the mountains that tried to break you." Afghanistan taught me that willpower could overcome any physical limitation. Taliban bullets couldn't stop me from completing my missions there. Carlos's betrayal wouldn't stop me from protecting these children either. Sophia stumbled but caught herself on a low-hanging branch. "I'm okay," she whispered with determination matching my own. These kids understood that silence meant survival out here. Their parents taught them well before monsters stole them away. The river sound grew louder as we descended toward safety. Running water would mask our movement from pursuing cartel forces. Mike paused every few minutes to check our back trail. No signs of pursuit yet, but that could change quickly. Carlos believed we were dead at the bottom of that gorge. His arrogance would be the weapon we'd use against him. The extraction point lay 5 miles downstream from our position. 5 miles of hell with 2 wounded soldiers and traumatized children. But Elena's sacrifice demanded we complete this mission successfully. Rico's memory deserved justice for 5 years of unanswered questions. These children deserved to see their parents again tomorrow. The jungle canopy filtered moonlight into scattered silver patches ahead. Each shadow could hide cartel reinforcements hunting our blood trail. My rifle felt heavy despite its familiar weight in my hands. Mike's sidearm remained ready despite his damaged trigger finger. We would fight our way out or die trying together. Brotherhood meant never leaving anyone behind in enemy territory. Carlos had forgotten that sacred truth in his greed. Now he would learn the price of betraying the family. The river beckoned us forward toward extraction and eventual justice. Rico's ghost walked beside us through the darkness ahead. Tomorrow would bring a reckoning 5 years in the making. Sophia squeezed my good hand as we approached the water. "Thank you for not leaving us behind like the bad man." Children see truth more clearly than adults sometimes do. Carlos was the bad man who destroyed everything good between us. But we were the good soldiers who would make things right. The medical bay smelled of antiseptic and broken dreams. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead while machines monitored my vital signs. I kept my eyes closed, breathing steady, playing dead again. Carlos sat beside my hospital bed, his voice cold as winter. Rico died because he got in my way 5 years ago. Now Thompson and Ramirez followed him into the same grave. My mission watch lay hidden beneath the blanket, still recording everything. Every word Carlos spoke would become evidence against his betrayal. The children gave testimony about seeing him signal the cartel. Financial investigators traced payments from cartel accounts to his debts. But his confession would seal his fate in military court. 3 days I laid motionless, gathering intelligence like a ghost. Carlos visited twice daily, reporting to his cartel handlers. He described Elena's heroic death as a terrain accident casualty. Our supposed deaths bought time for his escape plan development. The gambling debts that drove him to murder were enormous. $2 million owed to underground casinos in Las Vegas. Cartel money had kept him alive until now, but barely. He planned to disappear into Mexico after collecting final payment. Mike stirred in the bed across from mine on day 3. His eyes found mine through barely opened lids, understanding immediately. The look we shared carried 5 years of unspoken truth. Rico's murder finally had witnesses willing to speak his name. Carlos's arrogance would be the rope that hanged his conscience. He believed his lies had convinced everyone of our deaths. But the dead don't stay buried when justice calls them. Special Forces medics entered the room during Carlos's next visit. I signaled them with finger movements learned in covert operations. They understood immediately and activated recording devices throughout the facility. Carlos continued his phone conversation, oblivious to gathering evidence. The cartel wants confirmation that all loose ends are severed. Thompson was getting too close to the truth about Rico. Her dreams were actually memories, trying to surface through trauma. Rico discovered my arrangement and threatened to expose everything completely. I had no choice but to eliminate him during patrol. Mike witnessed it, but kept silent to preserve unit cohesion. Now both of them are dead and my secret dies. The medics exchanged glances, as every word was captured digitally. Military intelligence would have enough evidence for court-martial proceedings. Carlos finished his call and checked my pulse one final time. "Sleep tight, Thompson. You were always too good for war." His touch made my skin crawl with revulsion and rage. But justice required patience, not the instant gratification of revenge. 2 more days passed before we officially regained consciousness. Mike and I coordinated our stories during brief whispered conversations. The children were safely hidden with military family services protection. Sophia and Miguel would testify when the time came for trial. Their innocent eyes had seen Carlos's true nature revealed clearly. Evil cannot hide from children who know what goodness looks like. Carlos visited our awakening with flowers and crocodile tears ready. "Thank God you both survived that terrible accident yesterday. Elena's death was a tragedy, but you saved the children." His performance deserved an Academy Award for pure deception artistry. I wanted to tear his throat out with bare hands. Mike's jaw clenched as Carlos described Elena's heroic final moments. "She died saving children, while you murdered her for money." But those words stayed locked behind gritted teeth and patience. Justice moves slowly but arrives with the weight of mountains. The watch recording contained 47 minutes of confession material. Financial records showed payments totaling $300,000 previously. Rico's autopsy would be reopened with new forensic evidence. Mike's witness testimony would corroborate every detail we discovered. The cartel connection would bring federal charges beyond military jurisdiction. Carlos would face civilian courts for organized crime participation. His gambling debts became evidence of motive for multiple murders. The house of cards he built was collapsing rapidly. But the man himself remained free until formal charges arrived. That gave us time to plan something more satisfying than. Military police would arrest him during the next team briefing. His shock at seeing us alive would be recorded forever. The look on his face when handcuffs clicked shut permanently. Mike and I spent hours planning the perfect confrontation timing. Rico's ghost deserved to witness his killer's final downfall. Elena's sacrifice demanded that justice be served publicly and completely. The children needed to see that good soldiers protect innocent. Our brotherhood meant ensuring Carlos faced consequences for his choices. 2 weeks later, we sat in the briefing room again. New mission assignments were being distributed to surviving team members. Carlos entered confident, believing his lies had succeeded perfectly. He froze when he saw Mike and me seated calmly. "But we died in that gorge 2 weeks ago yesterday." His voice cracked, like ice breaking under pressure and truth. Death has a way of revealing who people really are. Military police entered through every door simultaneously and professionally. "Sergeant Carlos Martinez, you are under arrest for multiple murders." The charges include the death of Sergeant Rico Valdez specifically. Financial crimes, conspiracy with criminal organizations, and treason against country. Carlos collapsed into his chair as handcuffs secured his wrists. His empire of lies crumbled in 30 seconds of reality. I stood slowly, my healed arms steady and strong again. You killed Rico because he discovered your dirty cartel money. Elena died because you needed to cover your tracks. But the dead don't stay quiet when injustice needs answering. Carlos stared at me with eyes full of desperate panic. How did you survive that fall down the gorge yesterday? We survived because Elena's sacrifice gave us time to think. Justice doesn't die just because traitors try to bury it. The recording device played his confession for everyone present clearly. Rico's voice seemed to whisper through every word of evidence. Finally, after 5 long years, his murder had been avenged. The safe house smelled of gun oil and antiseptic memories. Sofia and Miguel huddled together on military-issued blankets inside. 8 and 10 years old, they had seen horrors no child deserves. Their eyes held shadows that would take years to fade completely. I knelt beside them, sharing MRE rations from my field pack. These meals had sustained me through countless missions in Afghanistan. Tonight they would comfort 2 children torn from their beds. You are junior comrades now, brave soldiers who survived the storm. Sofia managed a small smile, despite the tears staining her cheeks. Miguel clutched a toy soldier I'd given him from Rico's. These children needed hope more than they needed military protocol. Their parents were driving through the night to reach this location. Federal agents had secured the perimeter while we waited for reunion. But cartel scouts still prowled the desert searching for loose ends. Carlos's network remained active, despite his arrest and military confinement. $3 million in bounties had been placed on all witnesses. The children's testimony would convict not just Carlos but entire. Their innocence made them the most valuable targets in this war. Mike stood guard at the window, his rifle ready for trouble. 2 weeks of healing had restored most of his physical strength. But the emotional wounds from Elena's death still bled freely. She died protecting these same children sitting beside me now. Her sacrifice demanded that we complete this mission successfully and safely. The desert wind howled through gaps in the prefabricated walls. Somewhere in that darkness, enemies searched for our exact location. Carlos's cartel contacts had received his final transmission before arrest. They knew we survived the gorge fall that should have killed. Now they hunted us with the desperation of cornered animals. Sofia looked up at me with eyes older than her years. Will the bad men come back for us tonight here? Her question cut through my heart like a sniper's bullet. I lost a brother once, and I will not lose you. Rico's memory demanded that these children reach safety and family. His death would gain meaning if his sacrifice protected innocent lives. Elena's heroism would echo through every choice I made going forward. The children deserved to grow up without fear shadowing their dreams. Miguel showed me his toy soldier, painted in desert camouflage. This was my daddy's when he was little like me. His father had served 2 tours in Iraq before civilian life. Military families understand sacrifice in ways civilians cannot comprehend completely. These children carried warrior blood despite their tender young ages. They would survive this nightmare and grow stronger from the experience. A shadow moved across the moonlit window behind Mike's position. He raised his hand in silent warning, finger ready on trigger. I motioned for the children to hide under the reinforced table. Stay quiet like mice until I say it is safe. Sofia nodded solemnly, while Miguel gripped his toy soldier tightly. They understood that silence meant survival in this dangerous game. The door hinges creaked as someone tested the exterior lock mechanism. Mike moved to a flanking position while I covered the entrance. My rifle felt familiar and deadly in trained hands again. Carlos's betrayal had sharpened my reflexes beyond their normal edge. 3 soft scratches on metal indicated lockpicking in progress. Cartel assassins had found our location through electronic surveillance possibly. The scout entered slowly, night vision goggles scanning for targets. His silenced pistol swept left while his backup remained outside. I waited until he passed my concealed position completely before. One knife thrust between vertebrae dropped him without a sound. His body crumpled beside the children's hiding place under table. Miguel's eyes went wide, but he remained perfectly quiet nonetheless. Sophia squeezed his hand, providing comfort through shared courage. These children had learned survival skills no 8-year-old should need. Mike disabled the exterior scout with similar silent efficiency and precision. 2 cartel operatives would not report back to their commanders. But more would follow, once radio contact was permanently lost. We had maybe 30 minutes before reinforcements arrived in force. The extraction team was 40 minutes out from our current position. 10 minutes of vulnerability where everything could go completely wrong. I gathered the children close, whispering instructions in their ears. We are going to play a game called Invisible Soldiers. You follow exactly where I step and make no sounds. If shooting starts, you lay flat and do not move. Sophia nodded with determination that reminded me of Elena's courage. Miguel tucked his toy soldier into his pocket for luck. These junior comrades were ready for their final mission together. Mike secured the rear exit while I led our small formation. The desert stretched endlessly under star-filled skies above us. Somewhere in that vastness, rescue helicopters approached our coordinates steadily. But distance meant nothing if we died in the next. Headlights appeared on the horizon, moving fast toward our location. 3 vehicles in formation suggested a full assault team deployment. The cartel had committed serious resources to silence these children. Their testimony threatened to bring down a multi-billion-dollar organization. We reached the extraction landing zone with minutes to spare. The children ran toward approaching helicopter rotors in safety. Their parents emerged from the aircraft, tears streaming down faces. Sophia and Miguel disappeared into embraces that lasted forever. I watched their reunion with Rico's ghost standing beside me. His death had meaning if it led to this moment. Elena's sacrifice had purchased these children's freedom and future happiness. Justice moves slowly but arrives with the weight of mountains. The cartel would fall, Carlos would face trial, and children. Mike placed his hand on my shoulder as engines spooled. We did it, Thompson. We brought them home alive. The helicopter lifted off into dawn, breaking over distant hills. Below us, the desert held secrets of brotherhood and betrayal. But above us, the sky promised new missions and redemption. The military courthouse buzzed with tension thick as jungle humidity. Carlos sat at the defense table, his dress uniform perfect. 3 rows of medals decorated his chest like lying badges. His lawyer shuffled papers while cameras captured every false expression. You betrayed Rico and you betrayed us all, Carlos Martinez. My voice cut through the courtroom silence like Elena's final scream. Bank records spread across prosecution tables told the complete story. Cartel payments totaling $400,000 over 5 years. Each transaction coincided with failed missions and compromised intelligence operations. Rico's death certificate listed enemy action as cause of death. But autopsy records showed close-range gunshot wounds from friendly weapons. Carlos had executed him during a routine patrol in Afghanistan. Mike sat in the witness chair, his hands trembling slightly. For 5 years, he had carried the weight of silence. Brotherhood meant protecting the unit even when truth demanded exposure. His testimony would finally give Rico's ghost the justice deserved. I saw Carlos shoot Rico in the back during patrol. Rico had discovered evidence of Carlos taking cartel bribes regularly. He threatened to expose the corruption to military intelligence immediately. Carlos claimed enemy sniper fire killed him to cover murder. I kept silent to preserve unit cohesion and morale. Mike's voice cracked as he spoke the words, haunting him. The defense attorney stood, his expensive suit immaculate and confident. Sergeant Ramirez, you waited 5 years to make these accusations. Why should this court believe your suddenly convenient memory now? Your silence makes you complicit in the alleged crimes described. Mike's jaw tightened as he faced the lawyer's calculated attack. Because silence was wrong and Rico deserves truth finally. Because Aisha and Elena nearly died for my cowardice. Because children's lives matter more than preserving false brotherhood. The prosecutor played my watch recording for the jury. Carlos's voice filled the courtroom with damning self-incrimination evidence. Rico died for getting in my way 5 years ago. Now Thompson and Ramirez followed him into the same grave. The jury listened to every word of his cartel confession. Financial investigators testified about offshore accounts and gambling debts. $2 million owed to Las Vegas underground casino operations. Cartel money had funded his lifestyle while soldiers died. Sophia took the witness stand, her small voice surprisingly strong. The bad soldier talked to other bad men on. He told them where we were hiding in the Prit. My brother Miguel saw him use the secret radio twice. He made scary faces when he thought nobody was. The 8-year-old's testimony crushed Carlos's remaining defense strategy completely. Children cannot lie convincingly about such specific details and observations. Miguel corroborated every detail his sisters shared with the court. Their parents sat in the gallery, tears streaming down faces. These children had survived because Elena died protecting their innocence. Their testimony honored her sacrifice with simple, devastating truth and clarity. Carlos finally stood to address the court in his defense. I served this country for 15 years with distinction. My record speaks to my character and dedication consistently. These accusations stem from jealousy and post-traumatic stress disorders. Sergeant Thompson suffered head trauma during the mission recently. Her memories cannot be trusted given her psychological state. I felt rage building in my chest like molten steel. This man had murdered Rico, betrayed Elena, and endangered children. Now he attacked my mental health to escape justice. The prosecutor called me to the witness stand for rebuttal. My dress uniform felt heavy with the weight of truth. Rico Valdez was more than my teammate. He was family. He taught me to shoot straight and think straighter. Carlos murdered him for discovering cartel corruption and bribery schemes. Elena Martinez died because Carlos triggered the ambush that killed. 2 children nearly died because of his greed and betrayal. My watch recording captured his confession word for word clearly. Bank records prove his financial motivation for multiple murders committed. I suffered no head trauma that affects my memory. Every detail I've shared can be verified through evidence presented. Carlos sat down, his confident mask finally cracking under pressure. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the courtroom's cool temperature. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before returning their verdict. Guilty on all charges including murder, treason, and conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment without parole possibility. Military justice moved slowly but arrived with crushing finality and weight. Rico's ghost could finally rest, knowing his killer faced consequences. Elena's sacrifice had meaning beyond the children she died protecting. After the trial, Mike and I stood outside the courthouse. Autumn leaves fell around us like confetti celebrating justice served. Sophia and Miguel ran to us, their parents smiling behind. You are our heroes forever and always, junior comrades. The children had adopted our military terminology with innocent pride. Their healing would take time, but love would guide them. Mike placed his hand on my shoulder, brotherhood restored completely. We did right by Rico and Elena both finally. Justice took 5 years, but truth eventually won the war. The cartel network collapsed under federal investigation and prosecutions. 18 arrests followed Carlos's conviction, dismantling the entire organization permanently. Children across Mexico would sleep safer because we spoke truth. Rico's legacy lived on in every life we saved. Elena's heroism inspired a new generation of female soldiers. My promotion to Master Sergeant came with new responsibilities. Training recruits meant teaching them about loyalty and sacrifice. Rico's story would echo through every lesson I shared. True brotherhood means standing for truth over comfort always. Carlos had forgotten that sacred principle in his greed. But Rico's memory would guide soldiers for generations ahead. The courthouse steps felt lighter beneath my feet today. Justice had been served, and the dead could rest. You killed Rico. Now you will pay for everything, Carlos. My voice roared over the engine as we thundered across desert. 3 armored jeeps kicked up sandstorms in their desperate flight. Carlos had escaped military custody during a prisoner transport ambush. Cartel gunmen had sprung him from federal marshals using rocket launchers. Now they raced toward the Mexican border at 80 miles. But justice had wheels and we were closing the gap. Mike gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white with determination. Our modified Humvee ate up ground like a hungry predator. The desert stretched endlessly ahead, broken only by scattered cacti. Heat mirages danced on asphalt while adrenaline burned through veins. Rico's ghost rode with us, demanding vengeance for his murder. Elena's memory fueled every heartbeat pounding in my chest. The children we saved deserved to see their protector vindicated. Tracer rounds lit up the sky like deadly fireworks displays. Carlos's gunmen fired automatic weapons from their rear positions. Bullets sparked off our armored windshield, while I returned fire. My rifle found targets despite the bone-jarring ride across terrain. 2 cartel shooters dropped from the lead vehicle's exposed bed. Their bodies tumbled into sand, while their weapons scattered uselessly. Mike swerved left to avoid an improvised explosive device crater. The blast had been meant to stop our pursuit permanently. Instead, it created cover for our flanking maneuver around obstacles. "Watch her back," Rico Mike heard his fallen brother's voice. That memory from 5 years ago echoed through combat noise. Rico had entrusted Aisha's safety to Mike before Carlos murdered. Now that sacred duty demanded everything Mike possessed and more. He floored the accelerator, engine screaming against desert winds. The gap between vehicles closed to 50 yards of killing. I stood up through the sunroof, rifle ready for final. My silhouette against the burning desert sun-painted target. But fear had no place in this moment of reckoning. Carlos's face appeared in the rear window, eyes wide with. He had traded brotherhood for blood, money, and lost everything. Rico's death would be avenged today under this merciless sky. Elena's sacrifice would gain meaning through his capture and conviction. The lead jeep swerved hard right, trying to escape pursuit. But desert terrain offered no sanctuary for running cowards. Mike matched every desperate maneuver with superior driving skills learned. Afghanistan had taught us both to navigate hostile territory. This chase was just another mission requiring precision and patience. Carlos's vehicle hit a hidden wash, suspension bottoming out hard. The impact sent gunmen flying from their unstable firing positions. I put 3 rounds through their engine blocks systematically. Steam erupted from the radiator as overheating killed their speed. The second jeep tried to ram us from the right. Mike cranked the wheel, using their momentum against them effectively. They spun out in soft sand, wheels spinning uselessly now. Our Humvee's superior weight and power dominated this engagement completely. Carlos's escape route had collapsed into desperate survival mode. His hired protection scattered like roaches when lights came. Only 1 vehicle remained between him and Mexican border. But 10 miles of open desert lay ahead of. Our ammunition count was running dangerously low after sustained fire. Mike's fuel gauge showed quarter tank remaining for this. Time worked against us as backup units approached from. But justice demanded we finish what Carlos started with. The final jeep made a last desperate sprint toward. Carlos threw bundles of cash from windows, hoping to. Green bills scattered like confetti across the burning sand. Blood money that had cost Rico his life and Elena her future, serving the country she loved more. I chambered my last high-velocity round with practiced precision. This shot would end 5 years of nightmares and… Carlos's head appeared above the passenger seat, looking back. His eyes met mine, across 50 yards of desert. Fear replaced the arrogance that had masked his guilt. I squeezed the trigger with Rico's steadying hand guiding. The round shattered their rear window, sending glass flying. Carlos ducked as fragments cut his face and neck. But I had aimed to wound, not kill him. Justice required he face trial for his crimes committed. Elena's memory demanded he live with his shame forever. Their vehicle lurched sideways as the driver lost control. Sand grabbed the wheels, spinning them into a slide. The Jeep rolled 3 times before coming to rest. Carlos crawled from the wreckage, blood streaming down his. Mike brought our Humvee to a stop 20 yards. I jumped down, rifle trained on the broken man. Carlos raised his hands. Surrender, finally replacing his defiance. You cannot escape what you did to Rico and… The desert wind carried my words like a judge's. Military police sirens wailed in the distance, approaching our… Justice moved slowly, but arrived with the weight of… Carlos would face court-martial for treason and murder. Rico's ghost could finally rest, knowing truth had prevailed. Elena's sacrifice had meaning beyond the children she died. The cartel network lay in ruins. Leaders arrested or… Children across Mexico would sleep safer because we fought. Mike and I stood over Carlos, brotherhood restored through. We had honored our fallen comrades with courage and… The desert sun began its descent toward distant mountains. Tomorrow would bring new missions and fresh challenges ahead. But today justice had been served under burning skies. Rico's memory would guide us through whatever came next. Elena's heroism would inspire a new generation of warriors. The chase was over, but our duty continued forever. We could have been rich together, Thompson, filthy rich beyond imagination. Carlos spat blood into the desert sand, his uniform torn. Ancient ruins surrounded us, crumbling adobe walls bearing witness to. This forgotten outpost had seen countless battles throughout Mexican history. Today it would witness the final confrontation between brothers. Carlos pressed his back against weathered stone, clutching his wounded. Blood seeped through his fingers while sweat carved clean tracks. His rifle lay 10 feet away, knocked from his. My weapon remained steady, trained on the man who… 5 years of nightmares had led to this moment. Rico's ghost stood beside me, waiting for justice to… Elena's memory demanded that truth finally triumph over greed. We could have been brothers until the very end. My voice carried across the space between us like… The weight of those words hit Carlos harder than… Brotherhood meant more than money, more than personal gain. It meant standing together when darkness threatened innocent lives. Rico understood that sacred bond until you murdered him. Elena died believing in the cause we swore to. You traded their lives for cartel money and gambling. Carlos laughed bitterly, the sound echoing off ruined walls. Brothers do not betray brothers for 30 pieces of… Rico was going to destroy everything I had built. My arrangement with the cartel kept valuable intelligence flowing. Do you know how much those contacts paid me? $400,000 over 5 years of careful. That money funded a lifestyle you could never understand. Rico threatened to expose my business relationship with Dangerous. So I eliminated the threat before it destroyed my… Elena was collateral damage in a much larger operation. You and Mike would have been loose ends requiring. His confession poured out like poison from infected wounds. Every word confirmed what we already knew about his. But hearing his callous dismissal of Rico's life still. Elena's heroism meant nothing to this hollow shell of… The man we had trusted with our lives was… Carlos reached for a hidden sidearm strapped to his. My finger found the trigger as he drew the… Rico's voice whispered guidance through the desert wind around. Shoot to wound, not to kill, Aisha, he said. Justice requires he face trial for his crimes committed. The bullet took Carlos in the shoulder, spinning him. His pistol flew into sand while he screamed in. Blood splattered against ancient stone as he collapsed forward. I kept my rifle trained on him despite his. Carlos writhed in pain but remained very much alive. You could have killed me just now but chose. His voice carried surprise mixed with grudging respect and... Justice matters more than revenge, Carlos. Always has, and... Rico taught me that honor defines a soldier's true. Elena died, believing in something greater than personal gain. Their sacrifice demands I be better than my worst. Mike limped into the ruins, his wounded leg dragging. Medical evacuation helicopters thundered overhead, rotors beating like giant. Military police descended on ropes, weapons ready for resistance. Carlos would face court-martial for treason and multiple. The evidence against him was overwhelming and completely damning. His recorded confession sealed his fate beyond any reasonable. Bank's records proved cartel payments totaling nearly half a. The children's testimony would convict him of conspiracy and... Federal prosecutors would seek life imprisonment without parole possibility. Rico's murder finally had justice after 5 long years. Elena's heroism would be remembered in military history books. That is why you are the better soldier, Thompson. Mike's words carried respect earned through fire and sacrifice. His testimony had broken 5 years of guilty silence. Together we had honored our fallen comrades with truth. The cartel network lay in ruins. Leaders arrested or... Children across Mexico would sleep safer because we fought. Sofia and Miguel were safe with their parents tonight. Junior comrades who had shown courage beyond their tender. Carlos was loaded onto a medical evacuation stretcher carefully. Military police secured him with restraints and armed guards. His destination was military prison awaiting formal court proceedings. The desert wind scattered sand across ancient ruins around. This place had witnessed the rise and fall of... Today, it had seen justice triumph over betrayal and... Rico's ghost finally faded as peace settled over his. Elena's memory would inspire future generations of female soldiers. Mike and I stood together as brothers forged in. Our bond had survived the ultimate test of loyalty. The mission was complete, but our duty continued forever. New recruits would learn from the lessons we had. Rico's story would echo through every training session True brotherhood means standing for truth over comfort always. Elena's sacrifice proved that heroism comes in many forms. The children we saved represented hope for a better. Justice moves slowly but arrives with the weight of... The desert sun began its descent toward distant mountains. Tomorrow would bring new missions and fresh challenges ahead. But today we had honored the dead with our... The helicopters lifted off into the gathering twilight sky. Below us, the ruins held secrets of brotherhood and... Above us, stars appeared like Elena's spirit watching over. Rico's voice whispered one final message through desert winds. Well done, little sister. You made me proud today. The words carried peace that had eluded me for. Carlos would face justice, but our healing could finally. Mike placed his hand on my shoulder, understanding flowing. We walked toward the extraction point together as brothers. The mission was over, but our story would continue. Rico and Elena would guide us through whatever came. Their memory lived on in every life we protected. Justice had been served under the burning desert sky. The medal ceremony felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Master Sergeant chevrons gleamed on my dress uniform sleeve proudly. Mike's promotion to staff sergeant reflected his courage and integrity. 3 months had passed since Carlos received his life sentence. The cartel network had collapsed under federal investigation pressure completely. 18 high-ranking members faced prosecution for organized crime activities. Children across Mexico slept safer because justice had finally triumphed. Sofia and Miguel sat in the front row, beaming. Their parents flanked them, tears of gratitude streaming down faces. These children had survived hell and emerged stronger than before. They called Mike and me their second family now. Blood does not always determine the bonds that matter most. Sophia wore a small American flag pin on her dress. Miguel clutched the toy soldier Rico had given him years. Their courage during testimony had helped convict Carlos permanently. 8 and 10 years old, they possessed warrior hearts. The general pinned the bronze star on my chest ceremoniously. This medal honors extraordinary heroism in ground combat operations recently. Sergeant Thompson exemplified the highest traditions of military service, and Lieutenant Elena Martinez receives the Silver Star posthumously for her. Elena's parents accepted her medal with pride and devastating grief. Her sacrifice had saved 2 innocent children from certain death. Her heroism would inspire future generations of female soldiers everywhere. The ceremony concluded, but the real celebration began at a small gathering in the recreation center brought families together. Sophia and Miguel ran to me, excitement bubbling over completely. "Will you tell us about Rico again, please, Sergeant?" Their request touched my heart deeper than any medal. Rico's story deserved to be shared with young warriors. We sat in a circle on the polished wooden floor. An old photograph showed Rico's infectious smile and kind eyes. This man taught me everything about being a true soldier. He showed me that strength comes from protecting others always. Rico believed that loyalty was the foundation of brotherhood genuine. When he discovered Carlos taking cartel money for classified information, he chose to expose the truth rather than protect. Carlos murdered him to keep his dirty secrets buried forever. But truth has a way of surfacing despite betrayal. Rico's death taught me that honor matters more than. Elena learned that same lesson and died proving it. Miguel studied the photograph with serious 8-year-old concentration and, "Did Rico teach you to shoot straight like you?" His question made me smile despite the sadness still. Rico taught me to aim for justice, not just. He said the most important target is protecting innocent. Sophia nodded solemnly, understanding wisdom beyond her tender years. "You and Mike protected us like Rico would have." Their simple words carried more weight than any commendation. These children understood sacrifice in ways that humbled my. The following weekend found us at the base training. Mike set up targets while I checked safety equipment. Sophia and Miguel arrived in miniature camouflage uniforms. They looked like tiny soldiers ready for basic training. The toy rifles were exact replicas of our service. Safety always comes first when handling any weapon, Junior. I demonstrated proper stance and breathing techniques for accurate. Miguel mimicked my position with surprising natural ability, and Sophia focused intently on sight alignment and trigger control. These children possessed the discipline of seasoned warriors already. Their parents watched proudly from folding chairs in shade. American flags fluttered in the gentle afternoon breeze around. This training represented hope for a peaceful future ahead. Mike laughed as Sophia hit her target 3 times. "Your marksmanship skills rival some of our newest recruits." Miguel managed 2 solid hits on his cardboard enemy. "We are going to be great soldiers like you." Their determination reminded me of Rico's earliest lessons about excellence comes from practice, patience, and purpose in everything. These junior comrades embodied the values Rico died defending. His legacy lived on through every life we touched. Elena's heroism inspired their courage to face any challenge. The sun began its descent toward the western mountains. Golden light painted everything in warm, hopeful colors of. We packed up equipment while the children chattered excitedly. Tomorrow, they would return to normal 8 and 10-year-old. But today they had learned lessons that would guide. Mike drove us back to base as evening settled. The children fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from. Their peaceful faces reflected the innocence we fought to. In the rearview mirror, I watched them dream safely. Rico's photograph sat on my dashboard, his smile watching. Elena's memory lived in every breath of freedom these. Justice had been served, but our mission continued always. New recruits would arrive next month for basic training. I would tell them Rico's story during their first. Loyalty is the only bullet that never misses its. That truth would echo through every lesson I taught. Carlos sat in federal prison, his betrayal finally exposed. But his corruption had been replaced by honor restored. The cartel money was gone, but brotherhood remained strong. Sofia and Miguel represented hope for the next generation. Their courage proved that heroes come in all ages. Mike and I had gained more than medals, and we had discovered that family extends beyond blood relations. These junior comrades were our children now in spirit. Their laughter filled spaces that grief had once occupied. Rico's ghost smiled as peace finally settled over his. Elena's spirit soared with eagles above our small formation. The training field stretched empty as we departed together. 4 silhouettes walked as one team, one family united. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and fresh missions ahead. But tonight we were complete under stars that loyalty had proven stronger than betrayal or greed ultimately. Justice had triumphed through courage, sacrifice, and unwavering truth. The children we saved had become the family. Rico and Elena would guide us through whatever came.